Hi, friends. This is Reverend Heather at First Christian Church in Jefferson City, Missouri, with week number 4 of the Bible Together reading plan. It's time for our midweek check-in, our reflection on what we've been reading so far this week. And I hope that it's been as meaningful for you as it has for me. I am really glad to be on this journey together with you. So this week's readings have me doing a lot of thinking of all sorts of things. For one thing, the whole soundtrack of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat has been playing through my mind as I have read all these great stories over again. It was really hard to pick just one direction to take the reflection this week because there is just so much rich, good stuff going on in these stories. If I were to try and tie all the things that we've read about this week together, which I guess I have to do here, I say I think what we're really looking for is what happens after God speaks. Because in every one of these texts, it is God who acts first. In Genesis, God speaks through Pharaoh's dreams. Pharaoh doesn't understand them, of course, but then he calls Joseph, and Joseph does understand. And Joseph is really clear about what's going on. It's not me. I don't understand anything. God will give me the answer. Revelation belongs to God. Joseph's role in this is to simply respond faithfully to what he hears God revealing. Then later on in Genesis, when Joseph's brothers show back up in the story and Joseph reveals himself to them, the very same brothers who sold him to slavery, we see what faithful interpretation looks like over a long time. He says to them, "You intended this for harm, but God intended it for good." Notice that he doesn't deny that harm happened. He doesn't pretend that they didn't hurt him, but he refuses to let evil have the final word. That is resurrection-shaped thinking long before we ever get to the resurrection story. When we turn to Galatians and start reading there, we hear Paul's story. He was a persecutor of the followers of Jesus. He was someone who caused very real damage and harm. And yet, at this point when he's writing, he understands his life through the lens of God's call and through the lens of God's grace. Again, God acted first. God called Paul. God revealed himself to Paul. And then it was up to Paul to decide how to respond. And then there is Mark 16. The women come to the tomb. It is empty, and they are told that Jesus has been raised. And in the earliest versions and the earliest copies we have of the gospel, that is where the story ends, at verse 8. The women don't tell anyone. They're just silent because they were afraid. It's such a strange ending. And other writers have come along in the centuries after that and felt it was too strange and added on some endings to tie it all up together. But I wonder if maybe that open-endedness wasn't intentional. Because the resurrection is announced, and then the story pauses. What will happen next? Will fear win? Will silence win? Or will someone find the courage to speak? We already know the answer, of course, because the good news has reached us. Someone did eventually find their voice. And maybe that is the thread running through all of this. God speaks, God acts, and God brings life where there was none. But revelation alone doesn't change the world. Someone has to trust it. Someone has to interpret it. And someone has to live like it's true. So, as you continue reading this week, pay attention to that moment, the moment after God moves. Notice the fear. Notice the hesitation. Notice the courage. And maybe ask yourself, what will my response be? Thanks for joining me, friends. I hope to see you again next week for week number 5. Have a good one.